Hey, what's up, everybody? Back at you with another episode of the Beta Escape. Not alone. I'm very excited to welcome my guest to this episode. On Twitter, he goes by the name TennesseeBator. Welcome to the Beta Escape. Thank you so much for taking this call.
Thank you so much for having me.
I am so excited to speak with you. I follow your Twitter. I think it's so valid, so important, and so needed. Um, and the reason why I wanted to really talk to you is because I really wanted to get a perspective from a Black baiter. And I know that your Twitter is very much Black fraught matters, right?
Yeah, that's my bait world name,
Exactly.
and
Great world, Dave.
yeah, and the Twitter name is Tennessee Bader.
Talk to me about your social. How did that all start for you? Why did you get interested? How's that going for you?
Okay, so it started last year during the pandemic, and
Mhm.
my friend was like, you should create this Twitter that talks about baiters, and I'm like, what? That's not interesting at all. Nobody would ever like, it's not very popular in Tennessee to be a baiter. Like it's just not. So I
Okay.
was like, okay, whatever. And we were on lockdown. So, everything was closed. Nobody was doing anything. Nobody was leaving their house, no sessions, everything, the world had stopped. Like the world had stopped.
Yeah.
So I created the Twitter account and it just took off. I didn't know it was going to take off or become what it's become. And I didn't even set out to be the voice, or encourage other baiters. I just wanted to, it started basically out of boredom in the lockdown.
I totally feel that. I feel like I started the same way. It was just something to do because I was like, oh, I'm here at home all the time masturbating, so I might as well just like do something fun with it.
Yes, yes. And I never like your page is so popular. And I think I do know you from Bait World, and I never thought that I would be. I still think it's weird. People message me and like, can you give me advice? And I'm like, I'm just this little guy who I try to, but I try to help as much as I can other people because to me, this community is all about brotherhood,
Yes.
and especially most baiters are into the same stuff. So it's all about encouragement, body positivity, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And that's exactly why I wanted to reach out to you. And I did some research on your Twitter. Um, but everything is so inspiring to me. And also, like you said, it's all about the brotherhood. And it's something that I really focus on. But can you
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about your soul sexual journey? Like, when did that start for you? When did you first start noticing that you were craving a different kind of sex in your life?
So it started about 2017, twenty
Okay.
eighteen. Um, I always thought it was weird that I didn't like penetration. Like I'm like, oh my God, I hate penetration. It does nothing for me. Um, so when I discovered maybe it was a kick group or something like that
Hmm.
for black baiters, somebody told me about Bait World, and I was like, what is this site? So I get on there, did my research, and I'm like, okay, this is basically Facebook for baiters. Number
Yeah.
one, what is a baiter? I don't know what any of this means. And I learned pretty quickly. Thank you, Google. Thank you, Urban Dictionary. Uh, you know, what everything in this crazy community is. And I'm like, okay, I have finally found my home. I have finally found my safe space. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's not that weird that I'm not into penetration and top bottom like that. My dick goes soft when those words come up. Like I don't care about that. That is nothing for me.
Yeah.
So that's how it started, and since then, fast track, here we are now.
Yeah, I think for like I think for a lot of beaters, and I hear this a lot from people that contact me via social media, like there is a point in our lives where we get really frustrated because there's really nothing out there for us. And you're looking at all this stuff and you're talking to your friends and people are having sex and you're just like, okay, why don't I feel the same way about these things that other people
Yes.
do? And then you feel so alone. And that's kind of like the catalyst to be like, I don't have to feel this way. I know there's someone out there that feels just like me. And thank God for the internet, right?
It's like, and even when, let's say you're like talking to a guy and the conversation of sex comes up, and it's like, you have to explain to them what a beta is. You have to
Yeah.
explain to them what fraud is. You have to explain
Totally.
to them the shenanigan penetration. It's like, oh my God. It's like you dread that conversation as a beta in your head from the jump because you know it's gonna come up. And then you have to play Mr. Teacher. You have to play Mr. Educator if they don't already know what that is.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, sometimes I feel like it's a little frustrating because I'm just like, God, do I have to explain it again? Um, Especially to people that aren't aware of it, because it's so much easier to kind of, obviously we're baiters, we totally get it.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
but I feel like I really have to be in that mindset, or I really have to be into that guy to be like, okay, bro, I'm really feeling you. Let's really talk about this because I really want this to work out between us.
Right. But it's like, I have to tell you something. Something's different about me. And
Yeah.
it's like, it's like Michael Jackson in the Thriller video. I'm a little bit different from the other boys or the other men. And here we go. I'm going to tell you what baiting is. And I'm going to put on go into my full like English professor mode and tell you what baiting is and look at the chalkboard or the dry erase board. And here we go.
So what's your experience been like with that? Like been the reception when you tell people?
It's been really good.
Okay,
I just try to educate as much as I can, even though sometimes it can be highly frustrating.
sure.
But um, that's why I just try to stick primarily with other baiters. That way, there's no need to, but sometimes even with that, you have to. It's some guys who want to fry and have never fried it before, so they
Mm.
don't know what feels good. They don't know how to do it properly, or what they like. So it's all a case by case basis. And that just it's been really good. It's been really positive. So I'm very lucky in the aspect that it hasn't been. I don't think I have any horror stories to share. I wish I did. That would make this podcast so much interesting for you.
No, I think it's already fascinating as is. No, I can relate to the frustration because sometimes I feel like when I'm with someone that doesn't know anything about like soul sexuality and masturbation and baiterness, it can be exciting, with the right person and say, oh,
Yes,
especially if they're starting to get into it, right? Because then you begin to know like, oh, they're kind of solo, but they're not realizing it yet, and they're getting like a taste of it. You know what I'm
because
talking about?
you can see the look in
Yes.
somebody's eyes, especially like during a fraud session when everything connects and clicks,
Yeah.
and it's like they're feeling something they never felt before, or you can just tell. It's like this is gonna be the weirdest analogy, but it's like a little kid. You can just tell when it clicks. You can just
It's
tell when
like a
it
light
clicks and
bulb
it all makes.
moment.
Yes, it is. It's a light bulb moment. Everything makes sense, and
Yeah.
you're like, okay, but you're right. It's all about the vibes and the person
Hmm.
because sometimes you can feel like, oh, I don't want to, I don't want to educate this person on, you know, Aiden fraud. But other times you're like, okay, I'm ready to go. If you wanna be taught, let me teach you, and hopefully, fingers crossed, this is good.
Also, too, I think it's really important to understand like all betas aren't monolithic. Like we're not all the same.
Correct.
And so like we have to really begin to understand like while we may like the same thing as masturbation, we all do it so differently and we all experience so differently. And I can remember a
That's
couple of
correct.
times like hooking up with a couple of guys and like you said, like say for example, the whole frauding situation. Like I remember they wanted to do frauding and they would like do it in a way that was really intense or like really fast, and it'd be like, whoa, 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 like let's slow down here. And I think people like are watching porno and they're just like, oh, that's how you fraud. But I think it's really
Right.
important to remember that everyone is so individual in how they like their sex. So like your frauding style might be different from my frauding style, and it's really important to be able to communicate that to each other.
You know what? This is very interesting because just today, like 3 hours ago, I got a message from one of my followers on Twitter,
Mhm.
and the message said, what can I do to become a better baiter? Because all the baiters, all the guys I bait and frolic with consider me a lousy baiter. And I was like, ugh, I don't know how to answer that. But I'm like, it starts with a conversation. Like, I could ask you, what are you into? That's, I always like to approach it. What are you into? What fetishes do you have?
Hmm.
Because what you like may not be what I like. And
Yeah,
everybody has their bar and everybody has their limits as to what they're into.
that's right.
Now, I like body hair, man, muscle, nipples. You may not like those three things. So we need to have a conversation to set it up to where we know what's appropriate and what's not. Just like normal sex.
Yeah,
But it's just that we know we're not gonna do penetration. So I told
yeah,
him, look, you need to start having the conversations beforehand. And you have to know, like, there are levels to this bait shit. You have to know, you have to know
that's true.
what
I
type
love
of
it.
baiters you are dealing with.
Yeah,
Now, I don't know what level, okay, so I don't even know what level I'm on, but I'm going to use you as an example. You are a master baiter, to say the least. You are. So you are like top notch. You're like on your king shit. So I would not put you with I could put you with a level one baiter, but depending on what kind of mood you're gonna do the educate. I don't know. So you have to know who you're dealing with. That's
yeah,
to
yeah,
me
you're
with
right.
anything. You have to know what level are you bringing to the table, and what level do I need to work with.
But I also to that does take time, right? Like I don't want to give the impression that you're gonna wake up and be some like masturbator. Like it took me a really long time too. Like I would say, um, 5, 6 years to get to where I'm at right now.
Wow,
And
wow,
that was like learning and like doing my own research and like in practicing on myself, right? It's like you want to get better at the gym, put in the time when you're baiting. Like you're only going to get
great.
better with that. But I'm so curious to know, like, how did you get so comfortable talking about this kind of stuff? Like when you tell me that you ask these questions to people, like how did that come about in you? Have you
My
always been interested in sex also, like sex education and sexuality?
no, no, not now that I think about it, no. Bait World certainly helped. Bait World and the groups, the Black Bait and Fraud groups I went in, they helped me because, like I said, I didn't know this was a thing. I didn't know this was a community. I didn't know this was a family. I didn't know this was a brotherhood.
Yeah,
So I had to learn. Not really learn the rules, but like ask them important questions. Have
hmm,
an open dialogue. That's what it's all about. Just like we're doing right now. It's about having that dialogue, having that
yeah,
conversation of, you know, what style do you like? What type of videos do you like to watch?
yeah,
Okay, well we can watch those and bake together. Or uh, what fetishes do you have? Or how many times a day do you like to bake? Or are you into fraud? Because it's some guys that like to bake that don't like to be touched.
yeah,
It's just that you have to, like you just said, you have to, whatever you want to be the master at, you have to do your research. You have to get in there and put in the work. And that's what anything in life, a relationship, your job, anything. You have to put in the
yeah.
work.
Yeah, you're totally right. I was having a conversation over breakfast Sunday, yesterday morning. And I was talking to my friend, I was like, oh, it's so curious to me how people have different interests. And like someone that's into like, I don't know, race cars will know all about cars and the people who drive them and when they take place. And I'm just like, yeah, and I'm really interested into sex. So I'm always asking people like, what kind of porn are you into? I'm like up on the new porn stars and like where it's taking
Yes.
place and who the OnlyFans. And I'm just like, but there's so much, and I feel like a lot of people are interested in these things, but there's so much shame, and it's like a guilty pleasure, and it's like, well, why does it have to be so guilty? Why can't we just be proud of the fact that we're talking about sex over brunch?
Well, here's the thing, and I hope I'm not jumping ahead with the questions. But here's the thing. So, in the Black community, there's
Mhm.
such a taboo about male nudity or
Mm,
about um masturbation or about it's not weird to watch porn. We're men.
Yeah.
No matter if you're gay, straight, bi, pan, whatever you define your sexuality. And it's just I love that you're so open about date life and talking about it and promoting it and uplifting the fellow man that calls himself a baiter. So I really do appreciate men like you who are putting in the work to educate people about this because I feel like it's quietly, but quickly going mainstream. I've seen it in a lot of videos, like
Yeah.
a lot of fraud is happening, a lot of beta is happening. And I'm like, when did this become a thing? Like, I'm glad it is, though. I'm very glad it is, but I don't want to jump ahead of the questions because I have so much more I have to say about this. So, yeah.
No, it's totally fine. Let's just talk about it. Talk about wherever you wanted to go. Let's talk about the Black community.
Yes. So, what exactly do you want to know? And I don't know how to, like,
I mean, I want to, I mean, that's not my lived experience.
uh-huh,
I'm Mexican American. I come from a very heavily Mexican neighborhood. But I'm
correct.
always so curious to know about other cultures, other demographics, and other people living their better lives. And that's one of the main things that really interested you because you're very much into Black lives matters. And so am I. I support the cause, I support the culture. But I don't know what like I'm not in it. Does that make sense?
Right,
Like
right,
I could
right.
never be. So I'm curious to know like the baiters who are Black and who aren't in it. What's that lived
So,
experience like?
okay, I'm gonna since okay, so let's just use me and you because we're both PLC Baders.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like more representation is needed in the beta community for PLC betas,
Hmm.
not just Black betas. We are here. We're proud to be betas. Like, even if you go on Bait World, and I love Bait World, don't get me wrong, you're going to see a majority of white betas, and to be one Black beta thrown in there for diversity, and then to be one, Mexican beta thrown in there for diversity. And my thing is, that's not diversity. Show us we're here.
Yeah.
We love bait too. Um, I have so many, and I'm sure you do too, because your page is very popular. Um, guys from other countries who don't even speak English, who are
Hmm.
baiters. Show us
Hmm.
we're here. You know, um, one of the things that frustrates me about the Black baiter community, and
Hmm.
I'm gonna say this, it may ruffle some feathers, but it is what it is. Um, and maybe you can. I want to hear your thoughts about the Mexican side of the Baylor community.
Hmm.
White Baylors can get together, not ask any questions, get together, go in there, be proud of their bodies, be proud of everything God gave them. Bait, have the most intense bait sessions, and it'd be amazing. It'd be so connected, like connecting souls, like brotherhood for real.
Hmm.
Black Baiters, we gotta know who's gonna be there. Is so and so gonna be there? Are the thick guys gonna be there? Because I'm not into the fat thick boys. Um,
Mm.
it's that type of stuff that I feel like if we were more like, I'm not trying to say we need to be like the white baby, but it should be like brotherhood.
It should be
It
more
should be
inclusive.
about correct, correct. So how
Yeah.
how how is it on
You know,
your end?
I
Because I can't speak for that. So
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like same way, and I feel like growing up in like gay, because I grew up as a gay man, and I went to the clubs and stuff, and I always questioned why, if I'm going into a gay scene, like other gay Mexican men just we didn't hit it off in that way. And it was so bizarre to me because I thought, God, well, why are you giving me attitude and why are you against me when I'm Mexican too? It really
right,
should be the opposite. We should be really holding each other down because
correct.
guess what? All these gay white boys around here are the majority. So why are we even attacking each other? And
Preach.
what I think it is really is that, and I'll speak for myself personally, like growing up, like watching media and watching film and watching television, what I was really learning to do was internalize hatred of my own culture. Because guess what? I didn't see myself represented in film and television. So I was just like, well, I don't want to be this if it's not good or successful. And all the things that were Mexican, where you're like a mechanic, you were a housekeeper, you weren't
Hmm.
educated, you were the best friend, you were like the lonely sidekick. And it's just like, well, where's the strength in my culture and my community being represented to
Correct.
me? And so growing up, all you could be was like, okay, well, you got to be like the white man to be successful, right?
Right. Right.
These were all the messages, and especially in the gay community. If you weren't white, then you weren't good. And so I've
Correct.
had to really do a lot of shadow work to really unlearn all those negative messages and say, hey, I'm really brown, I'm proud, and this is my sex. So it was kind of like this like layered of shame that I had to dig myself out of. And I truth be told, I still struggle with it a little bit here and there,
Hmm.
but for the most part, I'm just like, no, this is what the fuck it is. And this is what I have to offer. And so
Right.
I think I think that's the beauty of social media, because we can curate what we want to say to the
Yes.
people we want to say it to.
And see, in my case, to me, I think you're gonna agree. If you don't, let me know. Part of being a baiter is I don't care about your dick size. That does not matter to me.
Mm, mhm,
Um, like I don't mind fighting and baiting with a thicker guy. I'm a smaller guy. I don't mind fighting and baiting with a thicker guy. I don't
mhm,
mind fighting and baiting with a guy that's my size. Body type does not matter to me. But it's some baiters in the black community. And let me be very clear. I'm not just saying the black community, because it's in every community that you
sure.
have guys that are like this. So I want to put that out there. But it's really hard if you're doing, even case in point, case example, if I'm doing a bait session at a hotel with like 6 or 7 baiters, three of the guys probably will ask, what body type is coming? And that shouldn't matter to me. Let me just say this. When I say one thing and this happens in every community, it's not just the black community,
Mhm,
but you know, if I'm hosting a hotel bake session with 6 or 7 black baiters, 2 or 3 of them are going to ask, what body type is coming, or I have to make sure there are no thick guys there, or and it shouldn't be about that. It should be about brotherhood. It should be about but everybody, because everybody is not the same. Just like you said earlier, we're all bringing different bait experiences to the table, and that's what I want to celebrate, and that's what I want to uplift, because one of the more popular black baiter pages is the cruise baiter. And I think he
mhm.
does an amazing job of uplifting the black baiter with all different body types. And, he has some of the hottest videos. So I don't know if you're familiar with that page, but it's one of the better ones. And he uplifts black baiters and celebrates black baiters and promotes black baiters in such a positive and beautiful and sexy way. That it's like, oh my God, how can you not react to this?
That's amazing. I'm gonna find that person. I want to
I'm,
follow
I'm,
them.
I'm going to send it to you.
Okay, perfect. Well, my question to you is, why do you think, when you get these parties together, why do you think that question's being asked, like with regards to body type?
I'm not sure because I've always been, on the thinner side. So okay, I'm gonna assume it has to do with body shaming of guys who are bigger.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, that makes
Um,
sense.
which I don't stand for at all. Like I've dated and fought it with guys who are 250 and 300 pounds, and it's been really enjoyable.
Mhm.
What do you think about that? Do you think that's an issue that comes up a lot?
Um, I mean, I've learned to, I mean, for me personally, anytime someone asks me for body pics, or I know I've been when I've gone on like Grinder or Scruff, or I haven't experienced it on Bait World, but it's been more like on these apps. Anytime someone asks me for my waist size, it's an automatic no.
They've done that to you?
Oh yeah. Oh,
Are you
yeah.
serious?
Yeah, because on my profiles, I'm honest about my weight. I'm a bigger guy. I'm a thick guy. I'm 6'3". I'm like 230.
Yes,
Um,
I love it. I love it.
thank you. But when they see that information, they're curious to know what my waist size is, as if like the shape of my body will be better suited for them. It's a very bizarre thing. So I mean, I don't get angry. I used to get really upset about it. I don't get angry so much anymore because I totally understand that it's something that's totally on them. It's something that they've learned
Right.
to identify as something that's pleasurable for them, and they obviously have a lot of they have a lot of like growth in that area. But
That you just so pissed me off. My mood went from like that is
wow.
so crazy. That's crazy to me. That's so crazy to
But
me. Like,
I also live in Los Angeles. So Los Angeles is very like all about the looks. And I live in a culture, like a celebrity culture world. Trust me, I can go to like any store here. Everyone thinks they're an influencer. Everyone thinks they're like some kind of celebrity. Like the cash
yeah,
register at Target will give me attitude. And I'm just like, you work at Target, bro. Like, what's going
like
on here?
how how many little do they know I'm a influencer of the Bate community and I have a very successful podcast. So you can suck a dick, okay? That's what you can do.
That's what I really
I mean,
want to say. But
yes,
I
if
just,
only you could just be like, yes, I'm an influencer, all right. Just in a different kind of way. I'll
yeah,
influence you
exactly.
with this elbow. But okay, yeah, sorry.
I mean, I just like, so those are the things that I get here, and it's like, and which is part of the reasons why I don't feel like I want to live in LA anymore. I mean, I don't see my future here.
Right.
I'm definitely having the itch to move out of LA where I don't know. I'm actually packing for a trip. I'm going for my birthday this week. I'm going to go to Santa Barbara and hang out for a little bit.
Oh, have a happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. It's on the
Yes,
11th, it's on the Wednesday.
happy early birthday. I hope you have. I hope you get in some good bake time during your vacation.
Oh yeah, I feel like I'm gonna get a lot of good beats. Thank you for
Yes,
sure.
and
I'll let you.
hopefully,
I'll let. Yeah.
hopefully it's not solo.
I don't know. We'll see what kind of trouble I get into. I'm a pretty
Yes,
adventurous guy.
I'm gonna
So
fix my mic.
okay, perfect. So talk to me more about like growing up and living in Tennessee. Like, what was that experience like for you? And like, when did you come into like your sexuality? Like, how did you learn about sex, and how what was that adventure like for you?
You know what? So I'm a child of the '90s. I was born in 1990, and nobody ever just sat down and talked to me about sex.
Mhm.
So, how old are you?
I'm 38.
Okay. So, do you remember the HBO show Real Sex?
I do. Yeah.
Yes. So I would watch. It's so funny. So I would watch that show, late at night when I was a young lad, totally not supposed to be watching that. The TV would be on Nickelodeon or the Cartoon Network, that would be the last channel. That way, if anybody, just so happened to get up, I could just hit that button so quick. Oh, I'm watching Lizzie McGuire. Yes. Um, watching
Totally.
cartoons. And you know what's so crazy? One of the segments that sits in my mind from that show. Okay, it was an episode of HBO Real Sex. They had this guy who was a sex doctor. He would get together a group of guys, probably about 9 or 10 guys, to have a retreat in the woods, somewhere in the woods.
Uh-huh.
And what they would do would be completely disrobe and bait. That stuck in
Oh.
my head, and I never made that connection until I discovered the Vader world. And I'm like, I've been prepping for this my whole life. I just didn't know about it.
Well, I was just always so curious because I think I feel like every person experiences it, obviously, but I'm always so interested in like male discovery of the male penis. Because I love the male penis. I think it's like structure, it's like art to me, and I'm
Yeah.
always talking about how like powerful it is. It just kind of sticks up there, and you can like there's so much art around it, so I'm really fascinated with it. But I'm always so
Can
curious
I
to know
tell you
like,
that?
yeah.
Can I tell you that story? Can we go into that story? Now
Yes.
this is going to be a little. We all have to learn somewhere, so I'm just gonna go right into it. So
Okay.
it was one New Year's Eve. It was me and my cousin hanging out. He said, "Do you know what jacking off is?" And I said, "What?" what is that? I'm like 12. I don't know what that is. So obviously I was, you know, I don't know if I was behind or I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know what that means. So he said, well, pull yours out and let's compare. And that's what we did. And
Mhm.
he's about 16, older than me. So he was, educating me on what it meant to, bust a nut. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna try that tonight. He told me exactly what to do and how to do it. And we, compared and he told me, how to do it. That night, I took his instructions and and you never forget your first time, right?
I feel like I might have forgotten my first I'm a whole, I'm a bad baiter. I should remember my first time, but I've baited
No,
for so long, for
you're
so much.
you're like you're an icon. So yeah, that's how I officially broke my Bader cherry but back then, it was not Bader, it was, just jerking off.
Yeah, jerking off. But I do remember being quite young and like discovering porn at a very early age. I feel like I discovered porn when I was like, I don't know, like 10, 12. And I was probably like looking at like a family member's like porn stash. Like I think inevitably like a cousin was like, oh, look at this VHS video, right? And you'd like watch it together. And it
Right.
was like this unspoken thing that would happen. But when I think about it now, and I'm just like, I think a lot of beaters like have like they like reminisce about that, and so they want to like reenact that kind of like scenario, because I've been in
Yes.
situations with other men where it's just like there's this like it's kind of the thrill, right? The thrill of kind of being naked together, like slowly touching each other's like dicks and like
Yes.
having that kind of like raw sexual intimacy with one another where you don't even speak,
Right.
you're just kind of getting aroused at that moment.
Right.
Okay, good.
See,
I'm glad you're
now you got me like fantasizing in my head about, sessions of the past.
yeah, exactly. But I think also too, like for myself, like my a lot of my sex is very mental. Like when I'm having sex, which is probably the reason why I like show off and record it, because I do record a lot of the things that I do. I just don't show them a lot on social. But
Right.
when I am having sex with someone else in the room, like I'm recording every single thing that's happening, because when they get off and they leave, I'm gonna get off thinking about the things that just happened.
Oh,
Does that ever happen to you?
I don't think so because I have to be. So my focus is being completely in the moment
Hmm.
and making sure that this experience is not a one-time thing.
Mm.
So I have to like, I want to make sure that if we were dating together, that I'm doing my best to please not only myself but also you. Because I don't want this to be a one-time session thing if we can make it more than one time.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So
nice.
I'm totally dive into the moment and connected to the moment, or else my mind will wander and I'll be like, you know, thinking about something else. I'm not thinking about this moment.
Yeah, I feel like that too. And I feel like the goal with me always is to like have it be like a continued thing. Because I feel more
Yes,
comfortable when it's like, with their like when I feel more comfortable when you know what they like, right? What their sexual needs are, and like you begin to have that conversation. And it becomes again, like you said, like a brotherhood in which you can bait and then like grab pizza or a beer afterwards. I think that's like the
see
goal.
that's to me is the goal. The goal is to maybe like bait, go grab dinner, listen to some music, watch a movie, like totally like you know a romance, a beta romance.
I like that. A beta rants.
I I love that. Like that's the goal. It just has not happened for me yet because I live in such a shitty area that like nobody here is a baiter. Or if they are a baiter, they're like, level one baiter and I have to teach. And he doesn't have time for that right now.
Okay, so let me ask you that. Where if you don't want level one betas and you're seeking a higher level baiter, where do you go to? Do you meet these people on Twitter, or do you find them in different areas? Do you travel a lot? Well, not
You
now
know
because we're in
what?
a pandemic, but
Back in the throes of a pandemic, my friend, don't we hate it? Um,
yes.
Actually, I've had a lot of guys who have reached out to me on Twitter. It
Mhm.
just so happens that we're back in the thrones of, I feel like what's going to be another like massive lockdown session soon. God, I hope not.
Yeah.
But so a lot of the guys I've talked to are in this area, or hour or 2 hours away. We just haven't met up because pandemic still.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
but they can be, I want them to come with some education to the table. How do you feel? Like I know sometimes, like we already talked about, we don't feel like teaching. So I feel like now I really want somebody to let's just have the conversation. What do you like? What do you not like? Blah 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 blah, and let's get it going.
I think for me, like if I'm like I do like other things other than masturbation. I mean,
Right,
masturbation is my primary sex, but like if it's just gonna be like a quick thing for me to get off, then it's I don't need to have a huge conversation. Like it's a couple of sentences and then they're over and it's done. Like I don't have a problem with sexual like casual hookups that way.
right,
But if it's gonna be someone that I'm like really into and I'm starting to have like a really like conversation, like an in-depth conversation with them, and I'm feeling the vibe and the chemistry, then those conversations start to happen even before we meet up. So I'll like
right,
it'll be like a conversation on Grindr or Scruff, and it's like, what are you into? Well, this is what I'm into. Because when I'm on these socials, like I have it labeled on my profile, solo sexual.
right. Well, I have a question. I have a question.
Mhm,
So since you live in LA, and
mhm.
the vape scene there is what I would imagine to be so like, good. How is the vape scene there?
It's good. I mean, there's a lot of baiters in LA. It's hard to meet up because LA people have like schedules, and I'm using quotation marks, and they're just like, no, no, it
Right,
doesn't fit my schedule. It's hard to lock people down into meeting, but that's just LA in general. People are so
right,
busy, right? People got shit to do, which I totally understand. But I feel like the baiters here are much more accessible because they're closer
right,
to one another because it's such a big city. Um, but the thing that I find so curious is that there's people here in LA that I can find that might not necessarily know that they're solo sexual, or
right,
they're not into penetrative sex, they're not really into masturbation, but they're into other sexual acts. And that's always
right.
interesting. Like for example, like yesterday I just had some guy that come and worship my feet, and that's all he did.
Oh wow. How was
So
that?
it was great because I just
Okay.
masturbated the whole time. So it was,
Oh, see
so
that?
that's what I that's what I find so interesting in LA, that you can pair with someone that might not necessarily be into masturbation, but
Right.
they're okay with you being into it because it's it lets them appease their sexual appetite. Does that make sense?
Yes. Oh my God. See. Mm, I live in I would say a middle sized. That doesn't make sense. An average sized town. I'm
Mhm.
like 90 minutes away from Memphis, 2 hours away from Nashville. Just to like
Mm,
pinpoint that.
okay.
So, you know, those type of stories that you like LA and New York and Atlanta, I feel like are the main three places for baiters.
Mm.
And maybe also Washington is another place that baiting seems to be very popular at. And I'm always interested in hearing y'all stories, you know, about bait because it's so like, you know, bait clubs every Saturday. And it's like, oh my God, the baiter's dream right there. The baiter's dream.
That is true. We do have like I think in LA we have like LA City Jacks, and I think New York has the same
Yes.
thing, and I think in Atlanta has the same
Yes.
thing. So I can see how yeah, that's totally, I can see the draw, the um the excitement of being able to go to these major cities and being like, oh, there's so many much people there, that and also too, I feel like since there's so many more people, there's so much variety of sex that you can get into, which I often forget, and I feel so bad because I'll get hit up by people that live in like Oklahoma or like Ohio, and I'm just like, oh my god, that's so crazy that like it's such a small, it's such a even smaller place to live because I've never
Right,
lived in those areas. Like I've just been in LA my entire life, and I'm just so used to just being so big and diverse. So it's so interesting to me to always hear these stories of like these much smaller cities and like the hardship and challenges that people have to like really obtain the
right.
sex that they want.
Well, yeah, and shout out to the people who live in the bigger towns because right before everything shut down last year, me and a friend were planning to go to the Nashville City Jazz um, retreat or monthly meeting.
Yeah.
So, so basically, right before everything shut down, we were planning on going to Nashville for the Nashville Jazz session, and then they sent in an email. We had booked everything, the hotel room, everything was paid for, and they sent an email. Sorry, we have to cancel because a lockdown is about to happen because they have this new strand of the COVID-19,
Yeah.
and I would imagine that was in March of last year. And
Mhm.
so they hadn't met up since January or February of last year. But that's the closest area, 2 hours away, that I think anything is happening. Something may be happening in Memphis. I maybe have a Memphis chats thing going
Yeah.
on, but I really don't think so. So you all are very lucky to be in an area where debate is popular.
Yeah, no, I feel like I do take it for granted. So like when I have conversations like this, I'm just like, oh, like I stay humble. I'm just like, yes, I'm very
Right.
grateful to like live in a big city.
So to all the black debaters, be free.
Mhm.
A lot of times we put, and maybe not even just black debaters, like debaters of color, we're not afforded the same opportunities as white debaters.
Yeah.
So let's have that dialogue. Let's
What do you think
we're
some
not
of those
nobody.
what do you think some of those opportunities are?
Well, like I was talking about earlier, black white debaters can just meet up. It's kind of like the frat house mentality.
Got it.
You know, you just think
Okay.
about what you've seen in movies, Hollywood mainstream Hollywood movies, the frat house mentality. Let's get drunk and get naked. You know, Debaters of color, we're not afforded that same opportunity because if we are, not to go into that rabbit hole, but you know what I'm saying. Like,
Mhm.
number one, be proud of your body. Like you were saying, you're a thicker guy.
Mhm.
To me, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Fuck who was ever asking you about your waist size. They're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's number one.
Yeah.
Be proud of your body and what you're working with. And if you don't like what you're working with, change it. Go to the gym. Do what you need to do. To me, dating is about happiness because dating
Mm.
makes me happy. Dating has helped me with my body issues. I had open heart surgery when I was 12 years old because I was born with a hole in my heart.
Oh wow.
So imagine being a teenager and not wanting to take off your shirt because you have a scar going down your chest.
Yeah.
Like dating has helped me with that. Now I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Also cause I'm older, I'm 30 and now I just don't care. But dating will help you with so many issues that you have.
Yeah.
And I just want to encourage other baiters, especially black baiters, be proud of what you have, no matter what you're working with, body and dick size. And you know, find your tribe out there. Find your tribe of baiters. They don't have to be, necessarily black baiters baiting with other brothers. Find your baiter tribe. Find your brotherhood. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is all about.
No, I totally agree with what you're saying. I think sometimes it's really hard to articulate like the power that masturbation has had in my life. But what essentially what's happening with soul sexuality is you're being alone with your body and you're honoring everything your body has to offer. So it's
Your flaw, you're honoring your flaws and all.
yes. That's exactly what that is. And I think
Yes,
what you're turning what you perceive to be your flaws as unique characteristics that are to you. And I think that comes with experience, and I think that comes also with age and with time. Like I said, like
right,
it's taking me 5 or 6 years to get to this abatedness of where I am today. And that's baiting every single day. To me, baiting is meditation, it's practice, it's my
right.
lifestyle.
So,
So I don't feel complete when I'm not baiting. If I go a
so
couple of days without, yeah.
I have a question. What is something that the younger you would have looked at as a flaw, but now the older you embraces and totally like worships about yourself, body wise?
My hair.
Why did you used to not like your hair?
I'll tell you a story, and I don't think I tell people much this story, but I remember going to church as a young boy. We grew up. I grew up in a church, and I remember like I don't know what we were doing. I think we were eating after church or something, and my mom was talking to another woman at this church and her son, and we were playing around, and I overheard my mom say, "Oh, your son has such a beautiful hair," and he had this beautiful like blonde straight like hair on his head, and I remember just feeling like, oh, like my mother never complimented my hair because my hair when I was younger, my hair was very coarse, and it was
Right.
very dark and black, and I remember just like growing up thinking that my hair wasn't good and I didn't like it to be curly. And I remember I spent years like relaxing my hair, cutting my hair so that it was softer, so that it was straighter. And I never liked the curl. I always had really short hair. Um, and it was only recently until the last couple of years where I was just like, oh, I really like my hair now. And I remember
Right.
like going to my barbers and being like, I have this thing with my hair. And my barbers would be like, you have beautiful curly hair.
You do. You have, I mean, I can tell your hair is like beautiful.
And also too, like I started getting salt and pepper really young at a really young age. Like I was like in my early 20s when my hair started growing like white hair, and I was so self-conscious of that too, and I would always dye it. And I think I reached a point in my early I feel like in my early 30s, and my friend was like, I'm gonna tell you something, you when you dye your hair you look ridiculous. Because the roots would grow out, so it would be like white
Right.
at the it would be white at the root, and then the tips would be black. And she's like, you look like you're going crazy. Like you need to just embrace the whiteness in your hair. Just embrace
Right.
whatever the hair could be. And it took me a really long time to unlearn that and unlearn the shame about having my hair. Isn't that crazy?
See, thank you for sharing that story because to me, that's what it's all about. It's feeling comfortable in your own skin and embracing what you once thought was a flaw. Embracing it now is like a thing of beauty.
Yeah, and you know what? I when we first went into lockdown, like the very first when the COVID first hit, I just let my hair
Right.
grow. I just let it grow like it was a full fro. And my hair grows out. It doesn't
Oh my God.
fall.
I want to see, you need to send me pictures. I need to see pictures of that
I'll send you
because your
pictures.
hair is
And then
beautiful.
thank you. And then it just started getting curly. And then and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep it. So then I shaved the sides, but I kept the length on top because it was just like this curly thing. And I was just and everyone loved it. And people were just like, you should just leave your hair that way. And I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm never gonna like straighten or like cut my hair short. I'm just gonna leave my hair curly and long. I don't know.
Yeah, you better like stay true to that because
Yeah.
that's to me, I like how you can tie that back into
Solo
body image.
sexuality.
And, right, correct.
Because I would look myself in the mirror and I would touch everything. Like I would run my hands through my even when I'm in bed, I'll like now I'll like run my hands through my hair and then I'll touch my dick. And so what I'm trying to teach myself is like connection of like, oh, my hair is beautiful and it turns me on. And
Yes.
that's what
See,
I did to a lot of my body parts. I did that with my stomach because I don't like I mean, I'm a thick guy, and I did that with my chest. I did that with my
right,
feet. I did that with like my butt. I'm really self-conscious about my butt. So these are the things. So when people ask me like, how did you learn to like love your body? This is what it is. You're making the
right,
connection. You're touching
right.
yourself everywhere, and you're mapping out places in your body that need more
Oh my
attention.
God. You're going to make me get off this call and like do that. You don't know how inspiring that is and what a powerful tool that is. You need to like tweet that out because that really is important. I'm not even joking. That's very important.
It is important because I get a lot of men that have a lot of body shame, and no one wants to talk about it. But we people need to understand that body shame happens a lot to men, a lot.
What's so interesting about that is here you are, you have a thinner guy and you have a thicker guy. And even though you're on the thicker side of things and they say, the goal or what is more masculine is the thicker guy or the guy with the muscles, like would be your case, we still both have dealt with body issues because our bodies are not quote unquote the perfect body.
Mhm.
And self-sexuality has helped both of us in tremendous ways that we never, I don't think I would be where I am now without this community.
I totally agree 100%.
Right. So
And
it's
it
really
was
interesting how we're able to make that connection.
and it was only when I fully it's kind of like a I don't know, I call it a come to Jesus moment a lot. You're just like, okay, here it is. Here's everything that I have to offer. Here's all my sex, here's all my body, here's all my baggage, here's everything that I have. What's going to take me to that next thing that's going to make me happy in my life? And only when I really started to focus on solo sex and masturbation, it felt like I was coming home to myself.
You had what Oprah calls the aha moment. You had your aha moment
I
due
did.
to Bate life. So shout out. I mean that's amazing, and you really should tweet that out to your followers because that's such a powerful message.
Yeah.
That because no matter even if you have quote unquote if you think you have the perfect body, we all have something that we're not happy with. We all have something that we wish we could change and we see all this as a flaw. And if we would just learn to embrace ourselves in the way the man upstairs made us, this world would be so much of a better place.
Yeah. And I think also too, like at my age, it is what the fuck it is.
Right. Like I turned 30 last year, and do you know how fucking annoying it was to go through your 30th birthday in a pandemic? But I'm to the point where now I just don't stuff that I would used to let bother me. I don't know, it's because I'm getting to that age, or if I'm at that age, or whatever the case may be. I just let it roll off my back. Like the only person I can control is myself.
Hmm. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, that's amazing. Oh my God. Thank you so much for this talk. I've had such a wonderful time talking to you.
Thank you so much. I've enjoyed this talk. I needed this talk. Um,
I,
you are such
I,
a powerful force, and I thank you. Thank you. Let me just say this. Thank you for inviting me on and giving me time to talk about soul sets and bait life and fraud, because what you are doing is changing our community, and you're giving a voice to baiters everywhere. Representation matters. Bait life matters. Everything matters. You're giving a voice to POC baiters. And that's what's needed because we are out here and we're out here. We're out here. We need to be heard and seen.
yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. It's a very sweet compliment. And I'm gonna continue to do it for the culture. I'm gonna
Yes,
continue to
please,
do so if people are listening, then I'm gonna continue to do it.
please continue to do it because we need you. We need you. And
Because
I hope, wait, I have a question. Am I the
mhm,
first black baiter that you've had on here?
yes,
See, okay, so I want you to have other black baiters on here.
I will. That is my goal. I really do. My goal here really is to make the podcast as diverse and inclusive as possible.
Yes.
And it's hard, it's difficult because people scheduling and I think also too a lot of people still have sex shame and so they don't really want to like have a conversation about it. But I feel like people like you and other guests that I've had on my show make it much more safe and comfortable. And I think if people start to listen to us having a conversation, it could be it takes away it takes away the scariness of it all,
Right.
right? Yeah. So I thank you too for being brave and being on this podcast and talk about all
Thank,
these
well,
things.
well, thank you so much for having me. And I hope you continue to reach out to more black baiters and more baiters of color because we're doing it for the culture, like you said,
Yeah,
for the
we are.
culture.
We
So
definitely
thank you
are.
so much.
You're welcome. So let everyone know where they can find you, promote everything that you're doing and what you have.
Okay, if you are on Bait World, you can follow me on Bait World at Black Frog Matters. if you on Twitter, you can follow me on Twitter at TennesseeBator. TennesseeBator, of course, all one word.
Mhm.
Just look me up or send me a message, and I hope everybody likes this episode. This podcast is amazing, and I thank you so much for having me on here. But look me up those two places. Shoot me a message. We can talk about bait, fraud, likes, dislikes. I love getting messages like that.
Yeah, perfect. And you're so smart to talk to, so why wouldn't anyone want to talk to you?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I'm your boy BC Bader. You can find me all over social media. Thank you again so much for having this conversation. I learned so much, and I really hope our listeners get a lot out of this. And I will see you on the next episode of the Beta Escape podcast. See you later.
Hey, sexy. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of the Bait Escape. As a friendly reminder, I am a current sex coach in training in the Somatica method. If you're interested in my coaching services, send me a message at beastlybaiter@gmail.com.